Hello and welcome to the chaos and to the end of 2025. Can you guys believe it has been a full year already, that it's almost 2026? I can't. It's still not processing in my head. But I've got some big plans for this video. It may seem a little chaotic. Cat. It may seem a little chaotic because I know what kinds of things I want to do, but I haven't really planned out exactly what order I want to do them in for this video. So I'm just going to record a bunch of clips of the different things that I want to go over for the end of the year and see best I'll stitch them together and post. So that's my plan. But for this video, I want us to finish Monty the Snake together. You've heard me talk about him a couple of times, not as much as I had really planned to for the year. But Monty the Snake was a pattern that I started making at the beginning of the year, where I was sinking all of my scrap yarn into just to see how big he could get by the end of the year with all of my little bits and scraps. And the rules for the bits and scraps were I couldn't make reliably anything out of it, even like pocket size. So like I have these little pickles that are like this big and little pocket sized chickens that are this big, octos, those kind of little things. If it wasn't enough for one of those, then it went into the bag with Monty. And I've worked on him a little bit throughout the year, but he's got a big bag of scraps to work through. So we're going to do that in this video, finish Monty, see how big he gets. We're going to go over all of my markets for the year in summary and see how much each of them made and what their best sellers were, if I marked that down, that kind of thing. We're going to go over my Etsy sales for the year and any other online sales platforms that I was on and go over the numbers for those. We're going to go over my goals from the beginning of the year and see how we lined up with them. Did we line up with them? Did we not? We'll find out. And then we're going to cap it all off with goals for next year and what I hope to achieve in the next season of time. So that's my plan for this video. We're going to get right on to Monty the Snake first, I believe. And oh yeah, and we're also going to see, I've kept a jar of all the yarn labels that I've used for literally the entire year. I know a lot of people have been doing these month by month. I've kept mine for an entire year. So we're going to tally it all up, see how much yarn I used for the entire year. So it's going to be fun. We're going to start with Monty, and I will be back with y'all in a little bit when I've made some progress on him. All right, checking in with progress on Monty here. I've been working pretty steadily through the last, let's see, I think it was 2 episodes of Stranger Things. We're binging the show before we watch the newest season that just came out. So I started with this green color. So up to this red is where he was before. And then, so 2 episodes of Stranger Things is what we got so far. And I have this much still in the bag. Let's see if I can lift it so you can actually see what I'm working with here. So it's impossible to show you. Let me fold that down. There. You can kind of see a little bit. So I've got about that much. About a quarter of the bag full, I think, to work on. So I'm going to keep on working and check in another couple of episodes and show you where we got to. And we're back, and I've got the snake finished. This is actually the next day, and yes, I'm still wearing the same shirt, and there will be no judgment because this is the week between Christmas and New Year's, which means time is meaningless, and nothing I do can be judged. That's the rules. I don't make them. You follow them. Okay, so Monty, who you've met, I just love the shape on the face. And in case you didn't see any of the previous videos or Instagram reels where I introduced Monty at the beginning of the year, this pattern is by Crochet Me Zaddy. It's the Crochet Me Zaddy snake pattern. I can't remember what he calls it. Little Snake Buddy? Might be Little Snake Buddy? I'm not sure. But this is his pattern. I was part of his Patreon for a while and got a lot of patterns from him, a lot of which I still haven't tried. I want to. They are fantastic patterns, and I love the way he writes his patterns. I just have had other things I have too many patterns is really what it boils down to. So, but this is Crochet Me Zaddy, Little Snake Buddy. So up until this point, this is where we were when we started yesterday. So this is how far I had gotten just kind of throughout the year. And then I stopped and got too busy. And so yesterday we started at this green and we went to this blue. This is how much I got done yesterday before the first check-in, I mean to say. And then I watched another several episodes of Stranger Things. I took a break sometime in there and went grocery shopping, made dinner, but I did manage to finish him out, finish all the scraps last night. So here we go. You ready? This is using every scrap that I had left from the year. And again, the rules were that I couldn't make a little mini octopus or a mini chicken out of it. And I had already had this tail previously made, so I sewed it on at the end. I probably, if I had it to do over, would have just finished, like grabbed a brand new color or something to finish the tail in, because I'm not sure I like where it dips in here, but it's fine. It is what it is. Okay, so now let's go backwards. So this is all the scraps from 2025, kind of my version of a temperature blanket. Monty the Anaconda. I'll try not to hit my microphone while I do this because I don't want to make noise. Oh, and I had the stitch marker in him to show where I had stopped yesterday. So let me take that out because he doesn't need to keep that. And here's our big buddy. I can wear him like a scarf. I honestly don't know 100% what I'm going to do with him. I will probably take him to markets and have him be like just an eye catcher, but I don't think that he's going to sell because honestly, with the amount of work and time that went into this guy, he would probably have to be $100 at least, maybe more. I don't think he's going to sell, but I don't really know what to do with him. I don't know where to put him. He's much bigger than I anticipated him being. So that was that. That's my scrap yarn for the year. So now, next fun thing is let's see how much yarn I've used for the year. So these are the labels that I've saved all year long. These are all my labels for the whole year. Now there were a few skeins of yarn that I had previously like caked up and didn't save the labels for. A couple of times I think I stuck a little note card in here to indicate the ones that I knew for sure had been a complete skein before I caked it up. But a few more were used up that just didn't have labels. So this is not going to be 100% the total of what I used for the year, but it's not going to be off by more than, two to three skeins probably. So let's start bringing these all out. I'm going to separate them out. I'm going to back this camera up a little bit too so you can kind of see a little bit better. So let's separate all these out and then we will count them all up and I will be back to show you what I have got. Okay, and we're back again. So you saw me separating out all the labels. I'm going to go, I think, fewest to mostest. And I can already tell just looking at it, the burnout's going to be the most. And that's honestly not a surprise. It's the yarn I use more than anything else. So I used one Cozy with a Twist toasted baguette. And I actually believe I used two of these, that one of them didn't have a label. This is near the beginning of the year. I used this to create a lovey for my nephew. He had one that I made him when he was first born and out of this same color. And he played with it, loved on it so much that it kind of tore up a little bit. And then like the dog got it and tore it the rest of the way. So then my sister-in-law asked if I could make another one. I had to actually go to eBay to find the yarn because it's discontinued. It wasn't available anymore. So I did find 2 more skeins of it and was able to remake his toy. So it should have been 2 labels of this, but there was one. Yarn Bee, Cozy with a Twist, and Toasted Baguette. Then the other single label I have is this. This is designed by Snowball, but it's this Asian label. This was some yarn that I got off of Temu, I think. And I just used it to make little mini things like claw machine minis, just little guys. It was like rainbow colored. It's actually a really nice kind of velvet yarn, just thinner than I normally use in my day to day. And I still have a bunch of it left, so I'm sure I will wind up using it for other things. Let's see. So then 2 labels of the Nicease fur yarn. I feel like I've used more than this, but I don't know where all the labels went. But I've got 2 labels of fur yarn. I've got 2 labels of Parfait XL. This was actually used very recently. I got an order for a jumbo bluey. So I used Parfait XL and Sweet Snuggles and Chanel Home to make the jumbo bluey. So 2 labels of XL, 1 of Sweet Snuggles. I believe this was the yellow color, but I didn't cut out the part of the label that has the color, so I couldn't tell you for sure. And 2 of the Chanel Home big. So that was for bluey. I had 1 demi pearl. I tried 1 skein of demi pearl. I really like it. I will probably be getting more demi pearl in the future, but I'm not buying yarn unless I actually need that color right now because I have a ton. So I used 1 Moonless Night demi pearl. I used Fluffy Flex. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 labels. I think that's probably all of them. I got like 1 of every color, and I may have gotten 1 additional. So 7 skeins of Fluffy Flex. I enjoyed working with that. It was a little thicker than I'm used to with like Bernat Blanket, so it was a little tougher to work with. I had to take breaks more often with it, but I liked the look that it gave, the little confetti look to it. So 7 Fluffy Flex. Let's see. I'm not going completely in order. I'm just grabbing like the smallest piles first. Big Twist Baby Bear. I have 1 label from Baby Bear, so I use 1 complete Baby Bear. I have a lot more Baby Bear and Posh in my stash, but I was only collecting the labels when I finished a complete skein. And then I have 3 Big Twist Posh. They're probably all black because there was a point where I was making a lot of toothless modded Diddy decks, little snuggler dragons, and so I was using a lot of this black Big Twist Posh for that. I need to make some more of those. I actually don't have any left. Okay, then next we have 1 Mainstays Cozy Chenille yarn. I just gave it a try because it was a little bit more cost effective than some of the others, but it was not my favorite texture, and so I will not be repeating that experiment. This was just white, I think. Feels like Bliss. I have several more skeins, but I used 4 complete skeins of Feels Like Bliss. The 2 projects I know for sure that I used a lot of this on was the little mini Eevee that I made and Crochet by Jenna's Sleeping Sloth. So that's where most of the Feels Like Bliss went. Parfait Chunky. I didn't use very much Parfait Chunky this year. Mostly on those guys back there. And on some of the Sailor Moon dolls. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 Parfait Chunky labels. Kayla's Craft Naughty Ball. I kind of use this interchangeably with Posh. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Naughty Ball. So it was 7 Fluffy Flex, 8 Naughty Ball. So 8 Naughty Balls in the lead right now. But it's about to lose its lead because the last 2 categories I have are Premier Yarns, Chenille Basics Brights. I think that's the order of the words. Chenille Basics Brights and Bernat Blanket. So we'll see which of those I use the most of. I use them interchangeably as well with each other, but here's the stack of Basics Brights I have. So let's count. Are we ready? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. Now, I just realized as I was counting these that probably the 3 skeins that I bought of the new Parfait Plush were mixed in there as well, because I cut off the barcode part and not the part that said what kind of yarn it was. If I do this again next year, I will definitely be cutting off the name of the yarn on the label and not the barcode area with the color. I don't know why I thought I would need to know the color information more than the type of yarn. So 51 of the Premier Parfait, not Parfait, Premier Channel Basics Brights, but it's probably actually 48 Channel Basics Brights with 3 Parfait Plush in there, because I know I did 3 Parfait Plush, and I do remember setting aside those labels. So there's probably 49 Premier Basics Brights, 3 Parfait Plush. So now let's get on to the Bernat blanket stack, which is feeling similar. It may not even be as much. We'll find out. And some of these were like little handwritten notes. Like I said, I had pre-caked some. So Bernat Blanket Teal is what this teeny little note says. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a Parfait. That's a Premier. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's just one piece of paper. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, we're getting there, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, another handwritten one, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, still going, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. 65 skeins of Bernat blankets. Now I mixed together the Bernat baby blanket, Bernat regular blanket, Bernat mystical, Bernat frosting. If it was Bernat blanket weight, it all went together. I don't separate those. So 65 skeins of Bernat blanket. Oh my goodness. If I would actually do the math on that, because it's 300 grams of yarn per Bernat blanket skein. I think it's 150 per basic chenille skein. That's a lot of yarn, y'all. 65 times 300. Let's see if I can do that in my head. So 66 times 3 is 18. That's 1800 plus 5 is 1500. So if I'm not doing my math incorrectly, that's like 3,200 grams of yarn. I might not be doing that right. I might need to add another 0 in there. It might be 32,000. That seems crazy. That seems crazy. That can't be right. I'm gonna have to do the math on this and probably put it in with my spreadsheet area where I go over like the nitty gritty details of the business year. So that's the fun stuff so far for this video. I mean, I kind of think the other stuff is fun. Fun stuff. Monty, 65 skeins of burnout blanket, 49 skeins of basic chenille, and then various other skeins used throughout the year. I will try to do sort of an average, I think, of how many grams of yarn that equals to for the year. Um, but that's crazy. That's already crazy. So that's what we got so far for this part of the video. I'm going to start working on my spreadsheets and my tallies for the year, and we'll go over my markets for the year and which ones did really well, which ones didn't do really well, how much money we made total for the year, whether or not we matched up with my goals for the year, and then we'll do some projections and goals for next year. And I think it's going to be a great time. So I will see you in the next part. And we're back, and we have now reached the numbers portion of the video. So I've got my checklist up in front of me on my computer here, and we're just going to go over the straight numbers from the year to recap how 2025 went. I did actually plug in the amount of yarn from all of those labels so that we could get an actual number, and I was way off. The total grams of yarn used for the year was 32,942. And that number is kind of incomprehensible by itself, so I broke it down into a few categories. So extra large plushies are usually more than a full skein of burnout blanket for me, like the really big dragons and stuff. So I put 400 grams, just ballpark for those. So it would have been, that number equates to 82 of the extra large dragons for the year. Now, obviously, I didn't make 82 extra large things. These were kind of spread out, but this will give you an idea of what that amount of yarn can actually do. So 82 of extra large. The large plushies, so using a full skein of burnout, but not going over, 110 of those could be made with this much yarn. Medium plushies, so right at just over half of a skein of burnout blanket. So that would be something about this size, is like the medium to large category. And those I could have made 164 of those with that amount of yarn. Small plushies, so that's around 100 grams of yarn. So about this size, maybe a little smaller than this one. Counts as a small. Something like this little guy counts as a small. Something that I could get potentially 2.5 of out of a skein of burnout blanket yarn. I could have made 329 of those. And then finally, the extra small plushies, or keychain size plushies, so like little bitty guys. 658 of those could have been made with the amount of yarn that I went through this year. That's a lot. I did make a lot of things. I kept a running inventory of 250 to 300 items at any given time, and of course, I was consistently selling them at markets. So I made a lot. I made a lot of stuff this year. So that was my yarn total. So now let's look at some event totals. I have my summary here of the events that I did. So I did including online sales on Palm Street, I did a total of 22 events this year, which is still a lot, especially since one of my goals this year was to pick like better markets and do fewer of them. I feel like I still did a lot. Of course, if you take out the live ones, let me see if I can do that. If I take out the lives. Okay, so if I take out all the lives, that's, nope, that, I added that together wrong. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13. 13. Okay. So with the lives, that's including my online sales. So with the lives, 19, without the lives, 13 markets for the year. So a little over one a month. So yeah, I think I met my goal for that then, to pick better markets. Well, to do less markets, trying to pick better markets. I don't necessarily say every time I picked better markets this time around, but I didn't do as many. I think last year I was really running myself ragged with how many events that I was doing. And then I did 4, 5, 6 live sales through Palm Street. I did, and those were all more towards the second half of the year. Yeah, those started in June. And then I have totaled up here my Etsy online sales, my Ko-fi online sales, and my sales from my own personal website for the whole year. So let's go over events first. So first, those events. I started off the year with the South Mississippi Toy Fest in March. So I waited a while to get started this year. The first couple of months, I didn't do anything. And that one has a $40 vendor fee, and I made 921 in gross sales for that one. And my best seller says was my little critters, or my $15 items. So like little guys, keychains, that kind of thing was my best seller. But I mean, that's pretty good. 921 for only a $40 booth fee is pretty good. The next one I did was in May, so 2 months later. So again, slow start to the year. Was the Earthbounding Night Market, and the booth fee plus taxes for that one was 44.26. And I had gross sales of 286. So a little bit slower, but that's not unheard of for that time of year. It would have been better if I'd been able to do like a con or something, a bigger event, but that was what was available to me at the time. I did still make profit. So, and again, it was like the $15 to $25 items that were the best sellers. The next four sales were all Palm Street Live sales, and they're all kind of back to back. So June 9th, June 14th, June 20th, it's all about a week apart. July 1st, I did Safety Eye sales and one stitch marker sale. So let's see, that first one, I wound up paying $9.90 in shipping and fees for $62.50 in sales, so not bad. The second one was $26.37 in shipping and fees for $209.50 in sales. Those are both Safety Eye sales. The third one was $23.49 in shipping and fees for $178 in sales, and that was stitch markers. And then the fourth one was $7.81 in shipping and fees for $72 in sales, and again that was Safety Eyes. Those Safety Eyes have done the best for me on Palm Street so far. Okay, then after that was my big event of the year, the one I had been looking forward to the most, I think, and that was GalaxyCon in New Orleans. It was a 3-day con event. Fees altogether between the booth fee and the hotel and the parking wound up being $900, and my gross sales were 2,197. So a big chunk of that went to fees and such, and to the hotel, especially. The hotel was kind of expensive. So I didn't get as good of return on my investment as I would have liked. I am repeating GalaxyCon this year. I've already signed back up. This year I'm going to do things a little bit differently. The parking garage that I was in last year is within walking distance of the convention center. So I'll use that parking garage again, but having that there means I don't necessarily need to stay in a hotel that is within walking distance of the convention center. So I'll be able to pick a cheaper hotel. And it'll be like a 15-minute drive. And the parking at the hotel then is free because it's outside of New Orleans proper. You only really have to pay for parking when you're in the downtown area. So that's what I'm going to do, have a cheaper hotel, lower my fees a little bit there. And this will be the second year that that show runs. So I'm really hoping that it does better this time around. Okay. The next one after GalaxyCon was another Palm Street Live in the same month, July 24th. $6.20 in shipping and fees, $41 in sales, and again, Safety Eyes. Safety Eyes has been my biggest seller for Palm Street. Then I had another South Mississippi Toy Fest event. That was the first time they'd done one in August. $40 table fee for that one, $229.90 in gross sales for that one. So not as good as the first one, obviously, but the first one is their big one that they do every year that everybody knows about. This new one in August was in a smaller venue and it wasn't as well known. People didn't expect it to be there. I do feel like this show is going to continue to grow. In fact, it's grown so much that they have rented out the Hattiesburg Convention Center for the next one in February, and invited me back for that one. And I'm very excited about it. It's just been getting bigger and bigger each year or each event. Let's see. So the next thing after that was the Mississippi Card Show, and this is by VX5 Events, and it is the same event runner that does the Mississippi Comic Con and the Mississippi Anime Fest, which I've been on waitlisted for both of those, and I really want to get in. But I got in the card show. This was their first one in Mississippi this year. It was in Jackson. It was only $25 to set up at the table, which was fantastic. And the gross sales for that day were $1,123. That was a really good day. That particular show, although it was the first, no, 1,336. I was looking at the wrong line. Although it was their first show, it was for people who look for card shows. They're gonna look. I mean, they're gonna find them, and it's just that very niche kind of thing that's gonna draw this particular crowd, and they don't have a whole lot of other events that they're gonna go to for what they're looking for. And also, I was the only plushie seller. I may have been the only toy seller, and there were a lot of kids there that were excited to be able to get something. And of course, I sold a lot of my Pokemon plushies. So the Aaron Giarnimals, big chubby Potatomon plushies, some of the bigger ones that I had made, like the Mew from Fox's Bay Crochet, and then the Mew Snuggler that I made by mixing her Mew and Crochet by Jenna's Bunny Snuggler, the Charizard Snuggler that I made by heavily modifying Crochet by Jenna's Dragon Snuggler. Um, all of those things sold heavily. The Pokemon really, really sold heavily at the Mississippi Card Show. And I do hope that I'll be able to get back into that one as well. I need to look up and see if the applications are open for it. They should be. After that, I didn't have another one till September. So several months. So July 19th to September, I had off. And I basically spent the summer just kind of working on inventory. I knew that I had the Ren Fair coming up in the fall. So that was primarily what I was focused on. So the first one back in the fall season was the Lucky Rabbit, which is one of my regulars on September 6th. $20 table fee and 655 in sales, which was really good. It's helpful that that's such a low table fee, so I can get lower numbers on the sales, and it still feels like a good day. Mystery boxes were the biggest thing that sold there. The next one was South Alabama Comic Con. This is second or third time running this one, I think they said. I'm not sure. It's been maybe longer than that. It's been going on for a while. Table fee for that one was 225. I didn't have a hotel bill because I just drove in and back. Um, and sales for that one was 1,123. So not terrible, especially since I didn't have hotel costs. Table fee was lower than the GalaxyCon table was for an artist alley table. I think it's just, it was in Mobile, Alabama, so that area is not as affluent, I guess. So it was just one of those kind of things. But I felt like it was still a good show. Would I repeat it? I don't know. Probably depends on what else is going on at the time. I wouldn't prioritize that over another show, I don't think. That would be more local. Then I had the Loblolly Festival, which is a local one that's in Laurel. That was an $85 table fee, and I had $885 in gross sales. Keychains and my little mini Eevees were the biggest sellers there. So not a terrible day, not a terrible table fee. Um, I think that was the one we did have to pack up a little early because it started to rain. Okay. Then I had one more Palm Street Live sale after that in October. $5.90 shipping and fees, $12.10 in sales was one set of safety guys. And that was the last Palm Street Live that I sold anything at. I had a few more, but nothing sold at any of the future ones. Then I had another South Mississippi Toy Fest. So I had three different events with South Mississippi Toy Fest this year. This was a smaller one in Ellisville, Mississippi. It was like in the parking lot of like a little church or something. It was really tiny. But I did pretty well. It was $50 table fee for that one. And I did $518 in sales. And the biggest seller on that one was my 3D fidgets, funnily enough, like the most things sold. The biggest thing as far as price point was I sold two, I believe, of my big $150 dragons and another very large plushie in the 80 plus range, I think. So several really big ones sold. But yeah, the number wise, the little fidget clickers was the biggest thing that sold. The next thing after that, in the beginning of November, was the Purvis Street Festival. That's one I've done every year, but I don't think I'm going to be repeating it next year. I've done it 2 years now, and it's been about the same results year to year. So that one was a $50 table fee, and it was $345 in sales. So not really overwhelming, very underwhelming actually. And again, 3D fidgets were the biggest sale there. Let me actually pull up my 2024 chart and see what it said for that one. Purvis Street Fest was a $75 table fee that time, and gross sales were 752. So actually better, a good bit better I don't know. It may be one that I consider returning to. I didn't pre-order. I didn't prepay this time around because it just was so underwhelming. So it would be another $75 table fee if I did it again next year. But again, I think that's going to depend on what else is happening around the same time. There may be bigger events that would be more beneficial for me. Then the Forest of Fae. Now this was the one that I was really looking forward to, was really building up for over the summer. Um, that was a Ren Fair, first ever Ren Fair I've been to that. This was its second year in existence. Um, and the first year, she said they had over 6,000 people come through, so I was very excited about it. Now, some differences between the first year and this year that will explain kind of how the numbers look in a minute. The first year, she only had it on one weekend. The second year, she split it into 2 weekends. Um, the first year, I believe the weather was beautiful. And, and it was new and it was well promoted. People were excited about it. Second year, I can't fault promotion. I believe it was just as well promoted. But being 2 weekends, I feel like traffic was split between the 2 weekends, and also there were some weather issues. So all of that to kind of offset the numbers here. It was a $200 table fee. I believe it would have been $300 if I'd been able to do both weekends. I only did one of the 2 weekends and I made 1,164.96 in gross sales. So actually not terrible. I mean, it wasn't as good as I had hoped it would be, but it's not terrible. And I do feel like if I had done both weekends, I probably would have sold more. I do know that this year coming up again, she's planning to take it back down to one weekend. I think she felt a little overwhelmed with the 2 weekends. So I am planning to return to this one. I do think having it on a single weekend is a great idea. And the tiny Pokemon were my biggest sellers with the Ren Fair, which was kind of funny to me because I spent so much time making mushrooms and moth guys and dragons and stuff, and I sold several of those as well. But it was the Pokemon that consistently sold the most of. Okay, and after that, I had the Earthbound Night Market in Meridian. This was right before Thanksgiving. This was one of my better events of the year, I think, as far as like ratio of profits to booth fee and etc. It was a $30 table fee, $971.67 in sales. The most number of sales were from a claw machine tries, so a lot of claw machine, but I also just sold a lot of big things. Several of the big turtles. I think I've only got one big turtle left. A couple of the big Saja Boy dolls, things like that. So a lot of big item sales for that one. Right before Christmas, people were getting their presents. Then I had the Merry Market in Laurel, Mississippi. This is one that I had not done last year, but had wanted to and just wasn't able to get into. So I was excited to get into it this year, but very underwhelmed when it actually happened. It was $100 table fee, so very high for local small shows. $319.59 in sales, and I think two of those were to fellow vendors. There was just nobody there. It was just dry, just no traffic at all. And I did hear somebody say that there was some kind of big football game happening. We had some traffic up until about lunchtime, and then after lunch, nothing. So I think everybody just left to go watch football. There was also another event happening down the road, I believe. So, but it wasn't just me. Every vendor there was feeling the hurt that day that it just was not a good sale. And it may also have been too close to Thanksgiving. It was the 22nd. So it was like 2 or 3 days prior to Thanksgiving. Um, okay. Now that's the end of the markets for the year. So the actual in-person physical markets that I went to. My next three lines on my chart here are my online sales. So for Etsy for the entire year, this was the biggest one. It was also the biggest one in fees. I had fees of $2,098.66. About 1,000 of that was Etsy ads that I ran in the beginning of the year. I did stop those halfway through the year because I wasn't sure if they were really doing me any good and they were getting expensive. My gross sales for the year on Etsy, $4,130.93. Now, I did not take out shipping prices because I didn't buy my shipping through Etsy. I bought it through ShipO separately. So, but for the most part, I believe the customer paid fully for shipping. There were only a few times when my estimates maybe were a little off when I paying an extra like 50 cents or something to cover the rest of their shipping. But that didn't happen very often, like I said. So half of my money to Etsy went in fees. And that's frustrating. And that's why I'm trying to break away from Etsy and work towards my own website and selling for myself. Um, so the coffee shop or Ko-Fi, Ko-Fi shop online sales. Now I have not sold much on this since about June, maybe in my last really busy period on this website. They don't charge me fees, I don't think, to sell. I couldn't find it on the website. If they do, it's a small percentage. Um, the $223 in gross sales on that particular website. So for not having very many in fees, that's fine. And for both of those websites, my biggest seller was safety eyes. That's really been probably my biggest seller for the whole year is my hand painted safety eyes. And then finally, my own personal website is in the red this year, which is to be expected because this was the year I opened it, so I had to pay all the initial fees. So the yearly cost of the website itself plus 3-year subscription for the domain name so that I have www.cheerfulchaoscrafts.com as my website was $198.66. So that's the website for 1 year, domain for 3. So I'll have to repeat the website next year for, I think it's like 70 a year. I can't remember. It may be a little more than that. I'll have to look. I mean, it's not too bad when you're doing it by the year. I think it winds up working out to less than $15 a month. So it wasn't bad. Gross sales from my website, $96.72. So for not having had it up for very long, I'm not mad at it. And my biggest sales there have been 3D prints. I've been selling my 3D printed books, my 3D printed um, supernatural weapons that go with those guys, supernatural weapons that I have painted of those. Doll stands. I sold one of those, I think, or a couple of those actually. So yeah, 3D printed stuff has been selling the most on my website, which is kind of funny because I do have all my safety eyes posted up there as well. So I would have expected that to just carry right on over, and it may overtake everything else in the new year as the website is open for a full year and we get some real data on it. So that was all of my sales from our various places throughout the year. So let's get to some totals. So my totals in fees for the entire year is $4,186.25. So that's shipping, that's fees to websites, that's booth fees, all that kind of stuff, taxes. $4,186.25. My gross sales for the whole year, $15,978.61. But that's not too bad. I mean, I think this is my third full year in business. 2024 was my first like full calendar year, or 2023 was my first full calendar year. So my third full year in business, and so far I've managed to make a profit each year, and that's pretty good, I think. I mean, it's not a full time job. Obviously, it's not full time job income, but it's not bad, and I think it's helping, with our bills and stuff. Um, so looking at, did I do that right? Gross sales, yeah. So looking at my summary page here, I have also my goals listed. So my goals for 2025 were number one, be more frugal. For example, don't buy more yarn until I've used what I have, only replace colors I'm out of or purchase for custom orders. I feel like scale of 1 to 10, I've hit that one on about a 7. There's definitely been times when I bought yarn just because I felt like it or because I wanted to make a YouTube video out of a review of it. But for the most part, I haven't just willy nilly bought yarn for no reason. And it does help that I created an inventory tracker of my yarn colors so I can glance through and see what I have plenty of and what I actually need more of. So I've only placed a couple of yarn orders throughout the course of the year, and it was always when I was out of something. Now, usually, since I'm ordering online, if I'm out of something, I have to add enough to make sure I get that free shipping because that's how girl math works. Um, so I would add other things that I was not necessarily out on, but lower on, or that I knew I would use more of. So I do still have some surplus of some colors. But going into the new year, that's fine. That's fine. I do want to start using up some more of the yarns that I don't necessarily feel like I'm going to replace. Um, colors that I maybe don't use a whole lot, especially like the variegateds. Like I have a lot still of the stuff that I got when Joann's was going out of business. And when it all went to Ollie's, and I picked up a bunch at Ollie's, and a lot of that is variegated. So I do want to use up a bunch of that and just get it out of my storage space since I don't intend on replacing it. So maybe I can put that down for one of my goals for 2026. Let me type that in here. Goals for 2026. 1. Use up yarn that I don't intend to replace. So that's going to be goal 1. Now, goal 2 for 2025 was reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and 500 followers on Instagram. I did not do the YouTube. My current YouTube subscribers are 514, so I got maybe halfway there. So if you're watching this and you watch me sometimes and you're not subscribed, just click the button for me. That'd be great. It's just numbers. I don't know that it really means anything. I think if I hit 1,000, maybe I could start getting monetized for some of these videos, but it's not something I'm really looking for as an income stream. I mean, every little extra income stream is always nice because it's always good to have spread out, extra ones, but it's not a huge deal. But if you're not subscribed and you like my stuff, or you just want to help me out, you can click the button for me. I don't think it'll actually show me up any extra on your feed than it already does. If you've watched a few of me, it's in your algorithm. You're going to see a few more. If you click subscribe, I don't think that changes that number. As for the 500 followers on Instagram, I must have written this goal before the end of the year, because I do believe right before the end of 2024 I hit 1,000. Unless maybe I just mistyped. Maybe I meant 5,000. That makes more sense because I hit 1,000 before the end of the year. I'm going to assume that I meant 5,000 and just mistyped. So again, I did not hit that one either. My current Instagram followers are 1,474. So that growth definitely slowed down a little bit after hitting the 1K. I couldn't tell you why. And I'm honestly fine with it. It's not a big deal. I don't know that having a lot of followers on Instagram really helps my business much. My pattern sales have never ever been like high enough to even calculate in with the rest of my stuff. So obviously that's not my niche. I like my patterns, and I know a few other people do too, but it doesn't seem to be the big thing, I will continue to work on patterns and releasing patterns. I have an idea for some, specifically for my daughter. She loves the Undertale and Deltarune games, so I was going to make some character dolls for the Deltarune characters, and just create patterns for those. I don't think I've seen anybody else doing that, so it'll be a new thing. So that's one of the things I want to work on this year is putting out a few more patterns and patterns that are more niche and not just general animals. Because like what I have right now is a chicken, an octopus, a cow, a possum, and they're cute. They're good little patterns, and I enjoy using them. And I know a few other people who bought them who do enjoy using them as well. But they're not. But everybody has those. There's so many of those particular animals out there that it's hard to make any money off of those. I think I may wind up turning all of those into free YouTube tutorials. I know I have tutorials already for the chicken and the octopus and maybe for the possum, but they're older videos. And I think I want to redo them with better lighting and with this tripod set up so that you can actually see what I'm doing a little bit better. So I will redo those tutorials this year. So that'll be another goal. Let me write that down. Goal number 2 for 2026. YouTube tutorials for older patterns. Okay, so there's that. Goal number 3 was reach $10,000 in gross sales. Well, I surpassed that. I got almost 16,000 in gross sales. So yeah, just keep it growing every year and then profit every month on Etsy, Facebook, and online sales. That I don't believe I profited every month. I ended the year with a profit, but I don't know that I profited every month. Well, on Etsy, maybe I did. So that's just about having steady growth, really. And I do intend to keep that up. Um, so, yeah. So far, goals for 2026: use up yarn that I don't intend to replace, figure out some old stuff from my stash, make YouTube tutorials for older patterns, and write more patterns. That's my goal so far for 2026. I may come up with a few more, and if I do, I'll let you know. But yeah, I think that is my year in review. I'm looking here. I don't think I have any other interesting numbers to talk about exactly. Yeah, I don't see anything in this checklist. So that's it. Um, in case you didn't see, these are some plushies that I have made at the end of the year. So I did the pink challenge. I think I did this in a video. Yeah, this turtle and the capybara. And then my grandmother's friend ordered another monkey. So this is monkey number 3 that I've made for the same person. I have to get this to her when I go see my parents this New Year's. So that's it. End of the year. It is December 30th. The year's almost over. This video will be going up hopefully tomorrow. So it just depends on how long it takes me to edit it. And hopefully you can't hear my dog barking. He's been barking this whole time because he wants to come inside and I'm not letting him. You can probably hear him. I wonder if I'll be able to edit that out. Probably not. Hopefully you can hear me better than you can hear him. But that's the end of the video. That's 2025 in review. Looking forward to a great new year, and I hope you guys are along for the ride with me. And I will see you in the next video.